computer. Got it. Okay, so we are recording now. Say hello to the world. Yes, I covered that. We will have a quick intro from the Fulbright website from Joey, and then we will have 10 minutes at the end from the Fulbright Philippines to introduce their resources and what they can do with the researches, and maybe just in case if you want to go Philippine or collaborate research, you can kind of like know where to reach out. And I got the 3 emails and 2 comments on other emails. So I will share that with you after our introduction. So Joey, why don't you start quick intro?
Sounds good.
Fulbright.
Would it be possible for you to let me share my screen?
Yes, I don't know how to
Awesome.
though. Okay, multiple, the advanced sharing multiple. Okay, got it. Maybe.
Awesome.
I don't know.
Yes, I can do it. Okay. I think this should be happening for everybody. Can people see my screen? Yes? No?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. But yes, so hello everybody. I am Zoe. I was an ETA to South Korea from 2014 to 2015. And I'm also a PhD student at Stanford, and I'm studying Korean history. So I get to participate in this workshop kind of just as a student, but then also I'm the founder of Fulbright.org, and Yuki is a country representative and a research workshop leader with us, a team member of Fulbright. So I thought it'd be useful to give a very brief introduction about what Fulbright is, because we're bringing this workshop to you. And also because some of you may have heard of the Fulbrighter network as well as Fulbright, and it can be a bit confusing. So I wanted to just quickly clarify that kind of space for everyone. So briefly, Fulbright I founded in 2015 during my grant. And it was very much a kind of for grantees by grantees, or, for alumni by alumni kind of effort, very grassroots. And so we have a team of current grantees as well as alumni who work on very active engagement activities and community building. So we do research workshops like this one, we do career chats, we have a blog. And so Fulbright is a website where you can go and be in part of the community, but I think it's also kind of a more active experience of being a part of the Fulbright community online. The Fulbrighter network was launched, so some of you may know about this website. It was launched in August of 2019, and Fulbright has been actively collaborating with the Fulbrighter network since its launch. And it's supported by the Fulbright organization and other stakeholders. And I think a good way to think about the difference between Fulbrighter network and Fulbright is that the Fulbrighter network is very much like a network, or maybe like a gathering place. It's almost like the Fulbrighter network is like a community center building that they built, right? And I think that Fulbright is kind of the group that's trying to make sure that there are like exciting events happening in the community center, and like people want to go to the community center to hang out because like people actually use it and like people want to be there. And so yeah, I think that Fulbright is trying to make sure that the community is very lively and fostering really meaningful conversations. So yeah, that's kind of my brief background. And if you have more questions, or if you want to find out more about Fulbright at the end, we'll have another opportunity to talk about kind of how you can get involved in the future. But I think for now, I will hand it over to Yuki.
Thank you. And feel free to like check it out, the website, when you have a chance. I think it has, it's pretty. So it's like, you can click it and go around, and then you can see the map and then see who's where. I don't think it's currently updated though, is it, Joey?
We have merged, we have a map, and we were the precursor to the kind of Fulbright directory map. And so, as we created ours 5 years ago. And so we kind of encourage people to also create a profile on the Fulbright network because there's tons of users there. But yeah, so our map is still functional.
Okay,
but yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, it's great. So whenever you going to conference in different country, like for example, if you're going to like China, for example, you can see, people who's there, maybe who's been there. So that way you can kind of, reach out and say, hey, let's get some coffee, even though I never met you. It's like, it's a safe. So yes, so that was it for the first section. If it's okay with the people, let's see. Sorry, I'm just a little slow this morning. So give me 1 second. I'm trying to find the email that I sent out. I actually asked on the email, like, share yourself a little bit and tell me about yourself. But if anybody wanted to kind of go for it, be welcome. I mean, you can kind of quickly introduce who you are. And from that way, we can kind of see where we can connect it to, from where to where. So it's, let's say, for example, if your audio doesn't work, just type it there. If your voice is gone, type it there. But I would love to hear from you. So, because it's kind of weird to actually talk all the way and then like no one's like saying anything.
I
So
feel that. Yeah.
I know, it's just like I feel like talking to myself, like echoing, and I just like someone response. Quickly, like location where you are or where you study. Like okay, started with your name, where you study, and what is your research is about, and things like that. Your hobby maybe. So
I'll go ahead and start. This is
awesome.
Joyce Trumpetta, and we were talking earlier, and I was in Japan doing my Fulbright. So I'm a research scientist at the University of California, San Francisco Medical Center, and my expertise is in kidney transplantation. And Japan is known for having the lowest deceased organ donations in the world. So I'm working with the transplant surgical community throughout Japan, and I was scheduled to give many talks all over the country, but because of COVID, of course, it was canceled. And I've created a model to help Japan increase their organ allocation that's similar to the United States. So I live both in San Francisco and Hawaii, and when the U.S. State Department asked me to return home, I chose, of course, back to Hawaii, where my husband is the only nephrologist here. So it's been the longest time I've ever been here on the island, for 4 months, when I'm a city girl. But anyhow, thank you for arranging this. This is wonderful.
Thank you for joining us, and amazing. Like your field is something I would never like. I mean, I would love to have a more like insight from you later. It's like you're gonna make me so educated after this.
I'll touch bases with you. I'll let you know when I go back to Japan next year.
Oh yes, please. I'm here. I'm still stuck here, so I'll be here until next year. Hopefully until September.
And where do you live normally? In Japan or in the US?
I usually live in America, like in states. Lived in Knoxville. So
okay.
But since I'm stuck here, and then like with the COVID, as you said, and I'm kind of not optimistic about we're gonna have a vaccine next year. So I'm trying to figure out where I should go next to maybe. But
I'll be sure to connect with you, because I'll be doing a lot of my research at all the universities throughout Japan.
Awesome. Yeah, it'll be great. Thank you so much. And anybody else want to go next?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go first.
This is MD Rakibul Haq. I'm the Associate Professor, University of Dhaka, Bangladesh. I'm working in the area of information system. That means what is the impact of culture on information systems? Because of cultural changes, to adopt the information systems vary from country to country. And my specific area is health information technology. And I finished my Fulbright program just in July. I was in Emporia State University, Kansas, USA. I went there in 2019, and I came back in this month.
Thank you. So we have, all right. Anybody else? I wanted to, don't be shy.
Okay, I will.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, my name's Phương. I'm from Vietnam. Most of my career, I'm a journalist covering environment and politics of Vietnam and anything related to Vietnam in Southeast Asia. So this year, I will start my Fulbright program in University of San Jose State University in creative writing, and I will be specialized in nonfiction. And my project I'm doing is related to Vietnam and Cambodian war, which is there's a difficult part of that is how to get to relate it to the Cambodian history, because Cambodian history and Vietnamese history is written in two opposite ways. So that's why I joined this forum to see if anybody is interested in interculture or like genocide in the history, so that I can learn more from you guys.
Awesome. Thank you. And then I believe the Fulbright also have the similar function as the Fulbright website where like you can make a post. So, right? Sorry?
We don't have a live feed, but
Okay.
so if you want to make like a live feed post, I'd recommend doing it on Fulbrighter Network. But why do you ask?
No, I thought it was interesting. Like, it'd be great if they can actually post it there and said, hey, anybody wanted to collaborate, or is there anybody, like reach out and then, give me some help. Then it'll be great platform to connect.
Yes. Yeah, I'd recommend doing it on the Fulbrighter Network, but also in terms of your project, I actually know someone who's doing an oral history project about Kosovo, and I'm talking to her tomorrow. So if there is something, if you want to learn more, or if that's a potential collaboration avenue, you should just shoot me an email, and my email will be available at the end, because I was really excited to hear about your work.
Okay, so I will connect with you by email after this.
This is a good thing about this kind of workshop. And like, I know someone of someone who knows this. So it's like, I will connect you. So that's the full point of this. Okay, thank you so much. So you're the nonfiction, right?
Creative writing.
Creative writing. No, I was looking at it and I was like, wow, that is so cool. Like, we have like creative writing to medical to like, different engineering, and then like, journalisms, or like, I don't know, this field has been very extended to like not just one area to another. Why don't we just have one more person talk and then we're gonna move to
I can go.
Awesome, thank you.
I don't even know how to share my, can I do this when I share my screen?
Oh, you want to share? Can you share?
Well, not share my screen, but like my face.
Okay.
But we can see you.
Here, I can just.
Yeah, we can.
Oh, okay, I
your
can
video's
just on. I'm still learning about this thing, so forgive me. But my name is Adriana. I was in Beijing, China, doing research on, well, I have a diverse academic background, but I specialize in East Asian arts and religions. I was doing my research on Buddhist mural art in Yulin. That's in the Gansu province of China. Wow. And what my research was about was learning about Tongotology. The Tongats are a extinct ethnic group in China, so pretty tough research there, where I have to pull my resources, the very little resources that there are about this group, while correlating it to the artwork in the Yulin grottos, because it was produced during that time when the Tongats were alive. So I'm just kind of trying to find the correlation between those two groups.
Wow.
That's what my research is really about.
That
and
is so cool.
I was supposed to finish in July, but because of COVID starting in China, I had to leave.
Actually, I wanted to ask you those kind of questions, because I am so glad that you joined, because it's like you actually joined like Fulbright with the 2020, right? So you're the cycle of a 2020.
Yeah, I was 2019, 2020.
Yeah, 2019, 2020. I don't know how the program is for you guys, because
my gosh, that was rough, but I can tell you more about that later, like when you guys ask questions.
Yes.
But yeah, I was supposed to finish in July, but I had to come back in end of January, and then the program ended for me in February. So I've been home since. I've just been finishing my research here.
Okay.
But other than that, I'm glad that you're doing this, because I get to exchange what I'm interested in, what my work is, and then I get to learn more about what you guys do and what everybody else here does as well.
Gotcha.
And then other than that, I guess you said hobbies. For me, so my other major other than East Asian religions was literature. So I also specialize in literature as well. And then I also like drawing and painting.
Nice. I'm actually a literature researcher, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, we need to connect more.
I know. It's like, I mean, people don't believe in literature as being a research topic, but.
No, I do a lot of research in that area too. I'm actually looking to publish this year too.
Nice. Oh my God, you're awesome. Yeah, let's get connected later, so that the emails and everything. Which being said, that I want to bring to next section that I said it in the email, that we're going to talk about a little bit of like challenges and culture shock that you might have. The reason I put it in this as a second is, as you know, the Fulbright is everywhere. Like, you have this like Fulbrights from like the country you never heard before to, and then they usually stuck with the region. So like Europeans, like, you know, Africans, or like Latin Americans. So what I realized while I was participating the Fulbright program is that those regions are very strong from connecting to one to another. Probably the languages also has to do with it, but also I think the culture has to do with it as well. So for example, like ETA, like if they're like teaching in Latin America, then they know other ETA from other countries, like, oh, hey, yeah, we participate those workshop before. But like when it comes to Asia, it's a little tricky because we have different countries, we have different cultures. Also, the research ETAs has very distinct role. So it's like, you know, like one is not like, there's no chance to crossing from one to another because, for example, like I know Joey has been like doing a ETA in Korea. Japan doesn't have ETA options. So there's only researchers. But the thing is, even you're coming as a researchers, like you're spreading out and you're kind of on your own. So it's really hard to connect it even within the country. And, you know, when you go to like those Fulbright events, for example, like I went to Fulbright Taiwan event last year, and that was actually first time for me to meeting other Fulbrighter in other country, like in Asian country. And I was like, oh my God, there's someone in Mongolia? Like I never knew that before, you know? So I don't know, it seems like the Asians have that tricky process to get connected from one to another. So I thought it was kind of interesting. It'll be interesting to like, you know, see everybody who's been to Asia, who's been teaching, who's been researching in Asia, and see some of the challenges, some of like, things that you felt as your ETA or researchers, you know, to connect it with other people, say maybe that was unique, maybe that wasn't unique, and see how other people cope with those kind of challenges that people felt. So I got some email. There's some interesting email. I don't know if she's here. I don't think she's here. Ah, man, that was an interesting email. But so like, why don't we start with some of the challenges that you thought before, like you knew you're gonna get it, you knew it was coming, but realize like it's like, you know, got you by surprise, like, oh, I knew this was coming, but I don't think I'm ready for it, you know, those kind of challenges. Is there anybody who wants to share? This is so, oh, huh? Sorry, just weird thing. No one?
Hi, I have.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'd be happy to share. I'm Tayo. I did a Fulbright in Japan 5 years ago on food and policy. And technically, I'm a social scientist if you look at my undergraduate degree. And I'm going to pursue a master's degree in public policy, not this fall, but the following fall at UC Berkeley. One of the big challenges for me, I'm half Japanese. I speak English as my first language. I didn't speak Japanese growing up. I learned it in college. And I had kind of, when I graduated, I kind of saw Fulbright as the pinnacle of all these things that I was interested in, Japan and food and policy. And I got to tie it all together. And I was like, this is the perfect thing I could be doing at this point in my life. It's not going to get any better than that. And it's not to say that I didn't expect any challenges, but I thought, wow, I've kind of gotten to the top of the mountain. But then I got there and the reality sets in so many ways that you can't foresee. And you can try to prep for maybe some of the more basic questions of, okay, what are some of the culture shock areas that I might encounter, but kind of the deeper changes that come within you and you don't even expect them. Mm-hmm. And you're in a foreign country and you don't necessarily have social networks that you would normally rely on, people that you would talk to, people that you're close with to navigate those really deep issues. I think that is probably, when I look back at my time, that was the hardest part of my project. Mm-hmm. And I would do it all again in a heartbeat. Mm-hmm. But I guess hindsight, it's like, wow, you know, if I had had any sort of knowledge that, you know, like, okay, you think you know as much as you can, but you just have to accept that there's so much that you don't know until you get there, and you live it, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm. I actually have a question. So, you know, when you go into like different countries, like, I mean, we went through the same program, so like I know exactly, I think, but I don't know other countries. You know, those like training that you get, the like cultural training that you get for like 2 days for researcher. I don't know, ETA, how many days you guys get. But what do you think about that? Like, did that help, like at the beginning? Because that is one of the questions always come up to me, like for those who want to apply in the future, like who wants to like, you know, and said, how is it different from like the training that you get from the Fulbright versus, you know, when you get there? Like, is there any similarity there? It's like, is it even helpful? So.
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and I would love to hear other people's thoughts on that. But I have a lot of friends who've done Fulbright in different countries all over the world, and I consider myself lucky to know a lot of people with different experiences. And it was always kind of surprising. I felt like you were saying earlier, Yuki, that participants in the Asian countries typically had a harder time kind of getting that onboarding, and that other regions, for a whole variety of reasons, they had more, for one, they had longer orientations, and they had more built-in opportunities for the participants to regularly get together. In Japan, there was basically none of that.
Still solo.
And I was doing a lot of apprenticeships with farmers and local food producers all across the country. So I was based in Hokkaido in the north, but I went to Fukuoka, I went to Kumamoto, I went across Honshu. I actually got to visit the rest of my cohort, and I did that on purpose because I would have no other opportunity to see them. I had the first orientation and I had the mid-year check-in, and that was it. And I was like, well, I feel like these are some really cool people, and they were, and I would like to spend some more time with them, and I can, so I'm going to make that a priority. But I do think I don't have any answers for that, but I do think that there's a need or a desire for a lot of people to have some stronger institutionalized resources.
Any other like countries experience that wanted to share?
I can go. I actually had the same experience with the language barrier. And I think I wrote that in my response.
Yes, you
did.
did.
My Mandarin education was really weird. In high school, I learned traditional Mandarin, like throughout high school. And then when I got to college, I had to learn simplified Mandarin. I had to start all over with simplified. So then, you know, I felt like, okay, I have all this education. I have traditional and simplified, so I should be fine. And, you know, I visited China before, and I was able to use the Chinese that I had like with no problem. But then when I did Fulbright, oh my gosh, that was like so tough. I couldn't, like, people had different accents, and I was like, okay, what the heck are you saying? I had most problem with the listening and speaking comprehension. And all of my classes were in Chinese. So you like the lectures. So, you know, that was something I had to adjust to. But, you know, ironically, that's what helped me, because my supervisor who taught the classes, he also knows English. And, you know, when I started the classes, he was like, okay, it's fine, just listen and see if you can understand, you know, start with the listening. And then, so when I listened to the lectures, I got better and better at understanding, you know, what he was saying and what he was presenting on the board. And I was like, oh, because I was like, oh, you know, I know this. I know what he's teaching the class. I'm familiar with this. So it helped me get more familiar with archaeological terms in Chinese, and as well as how to use academic Mandarin and comprehensive casual Mandarin, differentiating between that.
I was going to ask you a question and I just slipped in my mind right now. No, I was going to ask, you know, it's like, since you were mentioning about the classroom and, you know, like the languages, so how was, like, you know, making a friend, for example, like, you know, those kind of like relationship or like a networking that you create in China, for example? Because, like, you know, as someone who have the title, I think Kimura-san, sorry, I'm so automatic. Tayo was actually talked about in the email. that the title sometimes has to do a lot with the opening the network, but also kind of close the network. Because it's like, you have that like prestige titles, like they don't look at you like regular students, you're there to as a Fulbrighter. So people have those like expectations of those like, she must be really smart person. She's like, or like, she's one of top. So I wonder how, those play effect in the, creating like friendship or like networking.
Well, all of my friends, my classmates became all of my friends. And, for me, there was no specific title. They knew that I was a part of this prestigious program, but all in all, they treated me like one of their best friends. So, I didn't really have a special title, and, that's how we became like really close.
Yeah, because like for me, like with my own experiences, sometimes like it was harder. Like I guess it has to be like culture too, because I guess the country also, like from one country to another, cultures are like different. But like I never actually told anyone that I was a Fulbrighter, just because I didn't want to have the stereotype. I was like, I want to be that relaxed person, like I want to be friends with someone just because I am there to want to friend with you. It's not because I wanted to like anything. I didn't want to have anything like stereotype or so that.
Yeah, I did have that stereotype. I'm going to mention I did have that stereotype living in the international commons, because I had to live in the international commons. But, with my Chinese classmates, I didn't have that at all. But in the international commons, I did get those like American stereotypes. It was kind of weird. So yeah, it was that bit of a challenge there with that.
Gotcha. So for those people who actually doing the research with the Asian, institute or the local, like what was some of like a way of or like approach that you took to open them up to talk with you, or like what was some of the way that you can advise to other people if they're interested to want to pursue the field that you are taking currently, some of advice that you can give it to people that like you need to do this ways to get connected with the other. It's so kind.
I can share a little bit about this.
Yes.
So I don't know about other country, but Southeast Asian people, they are often very shy, especially when you come from a foreign country. But at the same time, they are like too they want to show that they are a good person to you. So you can push the limit. Like they will try to stay away from you. You can push the limit by open the conversation first. And then they will respond more eager than you think. That's the first thing. The second thing is that when you go to local places, their narrative about the thing you are trying to find might different from the national point of view. Like for example, if you are in Japan, you want to do something about Thailand and you read on the English news about Thailand or English research about Thailand, you see it this way. But however, when you go to local place and you meet Thai people, the narrative at the local sometimes completely opposite. And so you should be very careful to show the point of view you know before, because sometimes, especially with religions, with politics, it can be very offensive, and then they will turn away from you immediately. So you should put the question out first, just to know how they think about things, how they get this point of view. And then when you feel, everything is similar to what I get from the research before, you can go on. But if you see something completely opposite, you will have to look at like why they are so opposite from the national view. And it happened to me when I do research on Cambodian genocide. What they tell from Vietnamese side is completely opposite from what they tell in Cambodian side. And because at first I was not careful, because I think that is a historic narrative. It should be similar in some point of view, but actually they are like enemy. So they have a different story to tell. And in the first month, I lose 2 of my contacts because they feel offense. Yeah, so from then on, I'm very careful, and I recognize that it is not only in Cambodia. It happened in Thailand, in Vietnam, in Myanmar. In Myanmar, it's very serious. They are super subtle and gentle, but when you offend them, they will just turn away immediately. So that's what my take from that.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, thank you for sharing that. Like, yeah, it is really important to kind of like see the different perspective on the topic, and before you actually enter, and try not to like offend anyone. Like, you don't want to like make it worse before you even begin with. So it's like, yes. What about like other, like, is there any ETA here that can share like teaching experience? Because so far we've been discussing about researching, so just one side, but I kind of want to see like how ETA plays the role in Asia and see if there's any common.
I can talk about if there's another ETA. I'm more curious to hear from them.
Hello, anybody else? Just kidding. I guess you're right, Joey.
Is it me? So what is
Yes.
it? What are you curious about the ETA experience in, I mean, I can only speak to South Korea.
Yeah, it's like some of the challenges that you approach as ETA, like that researcher might not aware of. Because like we're actually like, for example, researchers only look at the academic perspective. And then of course the cultural stuff, and the culture of course is outside the classroom, but usually it started from inside the classroom and we build from the outside. But I want to see if some of the experience is different, and maybe some of the challenges that you approach as an ETA in Korea, maybe.
Sorry, my internet cut out right as you were talking, but I think I heard most of what you were saying about talking about kind of. But yeah, I think the ETA experience, I mean, I can only speak to my own experience. You know, I taught in a smallish town in an all-girls middle school. So I'm not like trying to say that my experience is generally representative of anything really, but I think that I don't know how this compares to research. I imagine actually it really depends on the nature of your research, right? So if I was going to go do a Fulbright research right now, I'd be doing history and I would be in the archives, versus I think what other people here have described with their research, it's like very, very like interpersonal connective research, and like you're going from place to place and you're interacting with people like if it were sociology. And I think that ETA experiences resemble that a bit more because you're constantly in the school. And you're also, I think the thing about ETAs is you're interacting with kids. And I think that that's probably one of the biggest differences, because, you know, they're representing their views to you and what's important to them. And they're also asking you kinds of questions that maybe an adult wouldn't be so bald-facedly asking you, you know, which I think is kind of delightful. And I think that you also have to be careful not to be kind of like an American savior if in the ETA example, not in the FLTA example, but like, you know, I think it's about being open to what you're learning, because really you're learning so much when you're in that place, rather than just trying to like represent aspects of American culture and teach them things about that. You want to be careful, I think, about like what you're really there to do, and kind of what your role is, because I've noticed some people were very like, oh, I can like save this, you know, X and Y. You're kind of like, oh, I don't think anyone really needs that. So I think, yeah, there's kind of similar challenges, but I also think very different challenges to being an ETA.
So this is another question that maybe for Joey, I guess. So when you have an issue with like if you have a problem or like issue with your students, like how do you solve those? Like, do you automatically, yeah, I think you know what I'm trying to say, but I'm not going to say it. It's like,
how do you solve the issues with students? Yes. I think depends very much on your school, but I think that foreign English teachers are in a really interesting position because we don't have, and I don't necessarily think we should have, any kind of like disciplinary authority over, and we can't grade students, right? At least that's the majority for secondary education in South Korea. So for foreign English teachers, and I think that then when your kids are like really talkative and noisy and crazy and boisterous and they're just not listening to your class, you have to think about other ways to enroll them in your class, and like, you know, other ways to kind of motivate them. And I think you also have to be really flexible about kind of how you deal with those situations. And so, and you also, I think it's worth like turning to your school and like using the resources of your school. Like I didn't find out about certain systems that I would have had at my disposal until like way late in my year. So I think like, you know, really using the contacts and getting to know your co-teachers is always useful. but so much of that depends on those, you know, individual networks that you have. So
Gotcha.
yeah.
Cool. Now, just kind of curious, like, is from like, you know, like while I was listening, another thing kind of came into interesting for me is like when I was doing my research here, like I often hear the relationship between the teacher and students are different from what we used to know. So for example, like at the end of a semester, usually in Japan, teacher takes students out to go drink with them. And as a celebration, so we're done with the semester, so like, you know, maybe until next semester, you know, you have to study whatever, but it's kind of encouraging each other, like, you know, and get to know each other a little more. And it was interesting because I had like this one American professor actually came for other fellowship, and then we met in the school, and he was like, I don't feel comfortable taking out students to drink. And she was like, he was asking like, is it normal in Japan? And I was like, yes, it is normal to go out and drink. And you know, those kind of cultural differences that you approach while you are in the program, then of course, like, you know, we go through like this training that I mentioned before, but I don't remember seeing the going out with the teacher drinking part. So it's part of like cultural trainings or cultural, like, you know, get to know each other kind of thing. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So what about, you know, is there any moment that in while you're doing your program, like making yourself kind of like, why am I doing this? Like, of course, we have a lot of positive experiences that we can all share for like, you know, next hour or so. But of course, I think it is also important to kind of focus on some of the negative experience that you might felt. For example, like I can imagine for those 2019-2020 cycle, I I just can imagine nothing but like chaos. It's like you get there and you get an email, it's like, oh, welcome, and then like next thing email probably like you need to go home. So you know, some of like experience that you felt like kind of like those experiences where like you hit the wall, or like how do I continue? And from there, like when you felt that, like what is the sum of a way that you help yourself to continue to finish the program?
Well, with my program, it just ended like, so I think I can talk a little bit about how that happened, because there was a lot of confusion at first. So, you know, with me, this was back December to January, everything was going fine. It was Lunar New Year break. I was gonna go to actually Japan with one of my classmates. We were gonna go for an excursion. And then all of a sudden, you know, my mom started telling me on WeChat, she was like, you know, are you safe? And she didn't exactly say like what was going on, but she just asked me like, are you safe? And I'm like, you know, why is she asking me this? Then all of a sudden, you know, I kept going through my plans to go to Japan. All of a sudden, January 15th, I believe, that's when Chairman Xi announced that, you know, a new coronavirus that can spread human to human. I'm like, wait, what virus? So, you know, and because I mean, some of you guys know how China is with their news and stuff like that.
Yes.
So yeah. So then I was just like, okay, what is going on here? And then next thing you know, the next day, January 16th, my friend contacted me. She's like, we have to cancel the Japan trip. We can't go because, you know, this virus is here. So we had to cancel that. And then that's when I emailed my advisor and I was like, you know, I don't know what's going on with this whole virus thing, but do we stay? Do we leave? At first she was like, okay, take precautions, just wash your hands and stuff like that. And then, you know, actually they were sending those kind of emails out at first, like take precautions, wash your hands, without, you know, telling us whether we needed to leave or not. While at the same time, the number of cases was like very inconsistent. Like one source was saying 3,000 cases in Beijing. One source said 200 cases. I'm like, okay, which, like, you know, you don't know where it's coming from. So then the week after that, my mom was like, you know, you should just come home. And then that's when I kind of decided I wanted to come home too. And I'll just tell my Fulbright advisors, you know, I'm gonna go home for a while. I don't know about you guys or what you guys have planned, whether to have us come home or not. But yeah, so, and then, you know, right after that, conveniently, they were like, okay, all US Fulbrighters and scholars need to go home. Like right after we just were thinking about that. So I booked my ticket. I had to pack everything in like 3 days. And then, you know, I had to hurry up and fly home.
Wow.
And that's kind of what ended my program.
Mm-hmm.
So then, you know, that's where for me, I kind of hit a wall. I was like, okay, how am I going to go forward? You know, my program's over, because everything just happened so fast. I was like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do now? So I just, going from there, you know, February, March, April, I decided, and you know, that's kind of when COVID came to the US as well. So I kind of decided, you know, I'm just going to take a month off, you know, think about what I'm going to do going forward. And then I smoothly kind of transitioned into continuing my research thereafter, staying connected with my supervisors, even though I'm no longer at my host university, keeping in contact with all of my friends. So it was a slow start from there. And then, you know, that's when I got comfortable.
Gotcha. No, just like, I think one of things that I always notice, like with the Fulbright of any, like, I guess, country itself, is like, and of course, like, you know, when we start the program, when we start the grant, like there's a lot of resources, but when we're about to end, there is not much resource compared to when we start. And especially with the mental kind of, you know, help that a researcher might go through crisis, and it seems like lack with those kind of resources. So like, it is great to, yeah, like it's like great to start, but I think, you know, it'll be much helpful if we can have those kind of like resources. We can reach out to like maybe counselor, because I hit a lot of walls when I was doing my research here, because like I am by myself, and like as like, you know, probably if you've been to like Japan as researchers, like as you know, there's only 2 times I meet other researchers, like it's like either like, it's pretty much like, are you alive? Yes, I'm alive, let's continue kind of way. So that was the time that I hit the most wall. And the second was that like when I went to when I was going through the mental issues, for example, like anxiety about what I'm gonna do next, or like, you know, because as the program's ending, like approaching, it's like some people might have like clear path of where they want to go. So like I had this one fellow, it's like, who already got like accepted to PhD, like, you know, with the scholarship secure and everything. And then he's pretty much like really didn't care much about anything else other than like, I'm going home, like, you know, but rest of us was kind of like, so what are we going to do after this? So there's not much transitional help from like at the end to especially younger you know, Fulbrighters, especially like for those who's starting the career or about to enter the academia as the professional. It was kind of lacking with those kind of things. So I was just thinking, like, especially time like this where like COVID happened, like I wonder like if you had those kind of help for like, you know, like maybe counseling help, maybe
For career?
Yeah. Or like
not really.
health
So
itself.
for me, I mean, in general, I have different ideas of what I may want to do. So right now, I'm just taking time and looking at different PhD programs, MA programs that I may want to go into. I don't have a clear idea of what I want to do yet. My ideas for art history and archaeology, but there's so many other fields I can go into, like literature, which I also specialize in. And I was even thinking about JD possibly, if I'm up for that. So, I'm kind of doing my own career counseling, which is not bad. I mean, that's kind of how I want to do it since I'm so indecisive. And especially now that I have like all of this time to kind of look into different programs, talk to academic advisors from different schools. So that's what I've really been doing.
I have a couple of things I'd like to add to that. I joined the Fulbright Association when I came back. They had like a young professionals, like a pretty cheap fee. I don't remember what it is. I don't have it right now, just because I haven't really been engaging with anything for obvious reasons with the world, and I had a lot of other commitments going on. But I did go to a conference for Fulbright alums in the fall, not the fall right after I got back, but the following year. And that was a nice opportunity to talk. They actually had a session on career development for young Fulbrighters. And at the time, I was actually working as a career advisor in my alma mater. So I'm also more than happy to talk to anyone who's a Fulbrighter or recently returned one, not so recently. You know, if you just want to bounce ideas off of someone, I've worked with a lot of people in a lot of different fields. And I do find that there's an element, like when you have a lot of ideas, like there's an element of, oh, I can go through all of these thought exercises by myself and explore all these things. And you have to do some of that. But then it can also be really helpful just to be able to verbalize it and have someone who maybe has a little bit of context for some of your ideas. So like talking to other Fulbrighters, for example, for me has always been a really enjoyable and very productive conversation. I think the Fulbrighter network, I think Fulbridge are really great tools for that. And I've only learned about them recently, but I would encourage people to try to tap into those as much as they can.
Joey.
That's actually a great point, because we're actually really hoping, because it's interesting you said that, because I was just talking with colleagues yesterday in Fulbridge, and they were like, the thing that isn't covered is like this transition and these like young career alumni. And that I think that like some people get lucky and they have an active FA chapter when they go back to the United States, if they are US grantees, and then they get to like participate. But that's not true everywhere. Like I didn't have a very active chapter here in Austin, so like I didn't have any of that. And so I've been thinking a lot about like, it'd be so cool, especially in COVID era, to kind of do some of this more online. So if any of you do end up having like specific ideas about how we could like actively structurally foster that career support, not just like, you know, the reaching out that people can also do, I'm always open to that, just as a side note.
Anybody else wanted to kind of make a comment? I mean, we have like 4 people very active and the others kind of, so I want to give other people a chance to talk, maybe. If you're up to it, it's not, no pressure, like at all.
Yeah, hi. Hi, everyone. It's really, thank you, Yuki, for this opportunity to actually do a very informal online discussion. I'm assuming it's just the 12 of us. Is it correct? Is that correct?
Yeah, I believe so. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I'm Joanne. I just want to take a step back and introduce myself. I'm Joanne. I'm not a Fulbright alum. I'm not a Fulbright researcher. I actually connected with Fulbright Philippines, the Fulbright Commission in the Philippines. So it's really, really refreshing and interesting to listen to what Adriana and Tayo has to share in terms of the Fulbright experience that they had in China and in Japan, and also the ETA experience of Zoe. So thank you for this opportunity. I just wanted to, I actually have been taking notes of the suggestions and the comments based on the experiences, and I just wanted to make a quick question to those who did a research or a Fulbright in an Asian country. When you arrived, was there any like language class that you took? Was there anything did they give you like a language learning fee? Because in Manila, in the Philippines, we do have something like that. When the Fulbright researcher from the US arrives, we actually give them a fee so they can go on and you know, try to learn the language, which is Filipino. What's good about the Philippines is that there's very, very little language barrier or communication barrier, because most Filipinos speak English. So for Americans, for US Fulbright students or US Fulbright scholars for that matter, it's pretty easy to get around and communicate as compared with, I'm assuming, other Asian countries. So was there anything like that? Maybe anyone can share?
I mean, I can share. It's like we have, for Japan, we have actually language stipend that you can get. But it's really depend on like your university. For example, I don't know about other year cycle because I am actually like little later cycle. So I heard depend on the budget. So it also changes from one cycle to another. But for, yes, we do have a language stipend. It's just not that clear of like it's available to you or not. As I said, university is different. So for example, I did my research in Kyushu University, and my university just moved to new campus. So they move whole entire like language building to other locations. So it's nearly impossible for me to go language class to, one to another, because it takes about like an hour and 30 minutes from one campus to another. So what I had to do is that I just went into my seminar and said, like, I literally did this. I asked people, like, who's here to willing to teach Japanese? So like raise your hand if you're into like teaching. And then like, of course, there's one person actually raised hand, and then of course my professor actually forced her to do it. So we were doing the language exchange, well, not language exchanging, but more like a language teaching. So like, I get the paper from her, and then I send it to, Fulbrighters. So like, I get signed, and then I pay first, and then they pay me for the languages courses. But it's not what I was really looking for, because, depend on like tutor's level. It also has to do with the like, is it related to your research, or like, sometimes you wanted to use the language that related to your research to make your research better. But if you're taught by like engineer, for example, I'm like, I mean, great, that's great, but I still cannot fulfill what I'm looking for. So yeah, so for the languages are provided. It's really depend on person to person, university to university. It didn't seems like there's a lot of restrictions about applying for it. It just, you applied and then you get the paper, and then, so that was really easy. But it's not always guaranteed that you will get the language course that you're looking for. That was my experience.
Okay, thanks for that feedback. How about the others? I just wanna, I just wanna just quickly say that based on what you're sharing, Yuki, it's very, very similar to what's happening in Manila. And also the feedback that we've gotten from US Fulbright students who did their researches here in Manila. So I just wanna, it's very informal. Is that correct? Is that
Yes.
the word? Is that the correct word?
Yes.
I mean, for lack of a better term. I mean, of course you have that language, allowance, but it's really up to you on how you want to use it. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I want to get maybe feedback also from the others.
Yeah.
And how was that a challenge?
Anybody?
So I guess with my host university, I guess this was because of my university. They only offered one introductory language course for exchange students, and it was very, very introductory. So I ended up not doing it because it was like basic words like ni hao and zaijian, just hello, goodbye, stuff that I already knew. So I just decided to continue with my courses that were already in Mandarin, my courses in archaeology and history that my supervisor taught, and just, listen to the lectures and improve my speaking and listening comprehension through that way. And just through basic practice on the street, like when I'm going out, when I order food, things like that. So I ended up not really taking a course because of that. But then again, I said it's because that was my host university. That's all they offered.
Okay, great feedback. I mean, that's the reason why I'm really, really interested to join in the discussion, because it's also going to give us an opportunity to like share experiences, and maybe moving forward as we are able to gather all of the feedback and maybe try to improve the process maybe for future Fulbrighters. So thanks very much for your feedback, Adriana.
Well, since it's been an hour, so like I want to kind of move to next to 10 minutes or so to talk about kind of future collaboration event that we might be able to do, or maybe someone's interested. And the reason I'm asking about the collaboration project is, like, as I mentioned, Fulbright Asia is a really interesting continent to get connected from one to another. So it'll be really great if we can start from inside to expand our, like, networking a little bit, and maybe have those kind of collaboration projects. There'll be good initiatives to connect all of us in Asia. or like whoever had experience in Asia, to get to know each other, first of all, because I actually never knew you guys before until this kind of event. And second, so maybe, you know, continue to like, like, you know, like encouraging our self-research, maybe help each other one to another. So I am kind of, you know, wanted to hear like, because I asked a question on the emails, like collaboration event maybe in the futures, and if there's anything that you are thinking about or you want to see that happening with this.
This is Joyce.
Hi.
Hi there. I agree. Collaboration is big. In Asia, it's who you know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like the Pacific Rim surgical medical liaison, and I create our outreach clinics in Hawaii for UCSF, and it's who you know. But in Asia, you have to be invited. I mean, you really have to know people to even get into the universities. So all of the transplant surgeons that I knew personally did use their contacts for me to give talks, like at Keio or Tokyo University or Hokkaido. It's because they had colleagues there. Mm-hmm. And so even in Korea, I have connections there. So again, you use it by the people you know. So mm-hmm. if you wanted to do research in any of the countries in Asia, I think we should maybe start a little like a database or something, you know, of our connections, so that if you wanted to do research in a particular Asian country, that you contact this person and ask. For instance, I knew colleagues in Turkey that wanted to do a collaborative research in Seoul in South Korea. Mm-hmm. And so I knew someone at Rush University who graduated from Seoul University, mm-hmm. National University, but knew people in Seoul. So again, it's like who you know, who you know. Mm-hmm. And they were able to successfully collaborate on this joint grant between Turkey and South Korea, mm-hmm. because they have the highest number of living kidney donors in the world. Mm-hmm. So I think it'd be great, and maybe offer a mentorship of research, and I would be happy to mentor.
Okay.
And so maybe we can have a volunteer mentoring. Mm-hmm. So as I said, my expertise is in organ transplantation, and in TTS, the Transplantation Society, we have what's called Women in Transplantation. And again, that's, I don't know, in Asia, some of the things that I found sort of challenging is gender and age. So, you know, I had a young transplant surgeon do a sabbatical with me at UCSF. And so he actually went back to Japan as being an expert, but because of his age, he wasn't the expert, but the people that were like presidents of the societies, but that didn't have his experience, they were seen as the experts, and you couldn't do anything unless you had their support. So that to me was very challenging, and being female as well was challenging, and I knew that going there. So again, it's aligning yourself with someone and using your resources and your networks and your collaborations that makes it easy to do research, and keeping those connections. And that's why Fulbright is an excellent venue for that, because that's what it's all about, is collaborations, and for long-term collaborations. And so I think if you created something like this for research in Asia, I think it'd be a great stepping stone for mm-hmm. researchers, mm-hmm. especially for Fulbright. Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much for you actually hit the spot that I kind of wanted to hear. It's like there's mm-hmm. Networking with who you know is what you're gonna get kind of mindset.
Yeah.
The mentor.
Because we all know, it's not. I always tell, it's not what you know. Of course you know, but it's who you know.
Yes.
And that's very big. It's very big, and especially in Asia, it's who mm-hmm. you know, because it's a trust. It's like you've been sort of, gone through screening from these people, so they trust, if you trust them, that they feel trustful in doing research collaborations with them because they've gained your trust. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, I really like the we were talking, Joey and myself, actually, when I did our first workshop, we were talking about the databases that maybe people are willing to wanted to put their informations and to see if anybody's connected. I think it's really good ideas. Like, you know, make it maybe like simple way, so that way like you don't have to go through like exactly, maybe have the categories like humanities, like BAM, like, you know, engineer, BAM, like, you know. So and then of course the mentorship is always like I think mentorship is just amazing, honestly.
I think it's very big. I think mentoring is very big. And at UCSF, it's very big. And every title that I have, it's because of my mentor, who was the first female surgeon to be chair of the Department of Surgery. So I think we can all empower one another. So I think that's very important. And also in differences in research versus quantitative versus qualitative. Like, I'm not a very much of a qualitative researcher, so, but there's like, I think Fulbright is offering it in a week or two. I'm going to, it's an ethnography, so it's qualitative. So we
that's
can
another,
learn
I think
another,
another Fulbright workshop,
yeah. So, and the big thing now to do research is to use mixed methods, to use a little bit of qualitative and quantitative to make it richer, because you have the personal experiences. But I've developed instruments, and so like I can, when you do your research, I can mentor you in how to create a psychometric instrument, especially because what you're doing is probably in a place where no one else has done the research. So that's very big too. I don't know if that helped, but
it did. It's amazing.
Joyce, that last thing that you said of you don't know if someone has done the research before, I think that makes me think another potential strength of a database is giving some more direction for people who feel like they're breaking new ground. I know that the official Fulbright for US Fulbrighters going to foreign countries, there's a very basic alumni directory on the website where you can look up people according to country, year, what they studied. And so you can get a very, very basic sense of, has anyone done a project of this kind of title and this kind of discipline? But I think it could be really useful for people coming in the first time to not feel like they're doing something completely novel. I mean, hopefully you're doing something that hasn't been 100% done before, but if you can feel like you're building on something, I think it'll help people get up to speed and feel like they're really making the most of their time, because it's a pretty short window for a Fulbright grant. So I think if you can give people all the tools that they might want to use and they can hit the ground running, then that's probably, I think it's a win for the individual, but it's also a win for Fulbright as a program.
Exactly. And is there a mentoring type system within Fulbright? I didn't look into that. Like for certain, whatever, teaching or research or engineering, any particular, is anyone familiar with that? If there is a mentoring component of Fulbright?
I don't think there's actually a mentoring component unless you're reaching out to commissions and ask particularly that you want to get connected with someone. I mean, and plus like with the researchers that like people's coming in with like each cycles are very variety. So it's really hard to kind of like secure the mentor for that cycle or like, you know, so I don't think there is actually those kind of function.
I don't think there's a centralized like mentoring thing, and I think that's partly why I know the Fulbrighter Network as well as Fulbridge are very interested in doing more with mentoring, and something we'd like to see with the Fulbrighter Network is a system of badging where you could have profiles that show people like, hey, I have this symbol, like this little star on my profile that means I'm a mentor, and like, you know, it can show how active you've been as a mentor, and it could be searchable and like, you know, all these things. And I think that even just these little visual cues and like searchability of a kind of the directory would make mentoring better. But I also have a feeling from what everyone said that there would also be other opportunities that we could really foster and kind of culture set, that like mentoring is something that happens through this online network. But yeah, that's definitely, yeah, I think it would be extremely powerful.
If we created our own for Asia, I think would be amazing, because, you know, it's a tight knit, and, you know, it's very specialized. Like between Korea and Japan, there's so many similarities, and Vietnam and Thailand, all of the Asian countries. like mentoring even, you know, how do you publish? You know, how do you even begin to do that? You know, after you do your research. So
actually,
you
that
know,
was what I was
would
thinking too. It's like
Yeah.
it'll be great if we can have those kind of like a platform that connecting us. Like maybe we can start it from like a database first, and from there we can take it like next level.
Exactly. Well, just what you've done today is wonderful. We could offer like even like mini webinars. Just, you know, how do you write an abstract? How do you, you know, to submit a research proposal? I just finished, and I'm supervising like 4 surgical residents, and so it made them excited to then do their research and get it published. And that's the big thing with Fulbright. You know, they always ask you, well, how are you going to disseminate your findings from your research? You know, so, you know, and it doesn't, I know mine is medicine, but I mean, in the arts, you know, in, you know, there's so many different ways, you know, literature, of course, you know, you're going to publish. Yeah.
I was also thinking, yeah, that's like, I think me and Joy was like mentioning, like when we're having a meetings, like I think I was mentioning about that, like maybe it'll be great if we have a database, or of course, you know, for the younger researchers that like kind of like checking on each other, like process, or like, you know, kind of like peer review kind of way. So like, and then like, you know, those kind of like, or like when you have the big event of like the presentation, for example, like you're about to go giving self like some kind of speeches, that maybe we can gather together and then like, you know, preview it before you do, so that way you kind of provide us like opportunity to practice, and then like, you know,
and even edit.
Yes,
you know,
edit.
I'd be happy to edit any research proposals or anything that needs to be published. And how do you even go about that, you know?
And I think we all actually have all the resources we need, because we have a lot of people in different countries. So they have bits and pieces they can add it together. So then we'll find some kind of like way to complete the whatever that you're looking for. So I think that's great. I think that's our next step, Joey.
Clearly, yes.
Thank you so much for so I know everybody wanted to talk more, but it's actually kind of time to wrap it up a little bit, since I actually have to run to another class. But is there any things that you want to say that to everyone, or like anything that you want to share? Maybe I know like the Fulbright Philippine, you mentioned a little bit about you know, what you do there. So, like, do you have anything that you wanted to talk about, Joanna?
Yeah. Basically, there isn't anything that we that's the information is readily available in our web pages. Anyways, I just wanted to take this opportunity to have this informal talk, and I just wanted to also let Zoe know, and all of the other members of the Fulbright team, that we're very grateful that there's a platform like this. And if the Fulbright, and I just want to let you know that Fulbright Commission of the Philippines is willing to support anything, all of the initiatives moving forward. Like, I agree with most of what you said in terms of, yes, virtual hearts for everyone. We just want to, because that's the reason why I raised that question earlier, because of course, as a part of the Fulbright Commission, we know that we've been getting positive and both negative feedback as well on the experience that they had while doing the Fulbright in the Philippines or in other Asian countries. We just wanted to also be a part of how we can improve the process. So I think by doing this informal discussion, and also trying to share experiences and the initiatives that the Fulbright community is planning to do moving forward, we just want to be able to let you know that we support you. If there's anything that you need, maybe we could, yes, do future collaboration. And I was also talking to Dr. Niti a bit earlier about how to improve that particular process in terms of trying to learn the language. Of course, there are a lot of lot of other like factors, and like factors that we need to improve on. So maybe after this, we could like try to discuss further, maybe offline, and then we will try our best to help you make those resources available. In fact, just a few days ago when we were preparing for the US Fulbrighters that's going to come to the Philippines in January of 2021, we wanted to actually try to do a virtual pre-arrival like um, like workshop or orientation, because that's something that is not available in the previous years. Because in Manila, what we do normally is we give the orientation when the Fulbrighter arrives. So there isn't really any platform to actually discuss before they depart the US. So I think that's going to be an initiative of the Fulbright Commission in the Philippines. And if all other Fulbright commissions can also join in, maybe we could do something. And with also Fulbright's help, I hope.
That would be amazing.
That'd be great, yeah.
Thank you for your support, and we love collaborating with commissions. So that, yeah, we should absolutely talk more, because that's very, very exciting. And I'm into all of the things you said.
You're welcome. and thank you very much, Yuki, Zoe, and the rest for actually doing this informal discussion. This is really very helpful for Fulbright commissions. And we try our best, especially at this time, because it's an extraordinary time. In fact, the calendar has been greatly deferred or moved, because we're just trying to get feedback from our U.S. counterparts right now on terms of on topics on how to move forward. So we're trying to really assess the situation right now, and of course, our top priority is the health and well-being of Fulbrighters. So it's interesting to listen to the experiences of the others. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
I'm gonna wrap it up with the two things that I wanted to say, and then after that we're like yeah.
Oh yeah, and also I just wanted to show them one last slide as well.
Yes. You want to share?
Oh sure, yeah. Sorry, I wasn't trying to put in front of you.
No, it's okay.
I just wanted to quickly say, based on, since we were just talking about all of this, so speaking of in terms of kind of future collaborations, we're going to launch a research space within the Fulbrighter network where people can kind of create forum discussions and kind of continue these conversations this way. So we can send you information in the follow-up email from this workshop. There are also other upcoming workshops. I think one of our attendees just mentioned the ethnography workshop that's coming up on July 31st. And if you would like to lead your own workshop similar to this one or on something completely different, there's a kind of like very simple like application form on our site that kind of starts the collaboration process if you fill it out. And then if you are interested in getting even more involved, there are open volunteer positions. But yeah, if you have any questions, my email is there on the slide, and we can have it in the follow-up email that we send to you all as well. So yeah, thank you all for being here.
Well, you said exactly what I wanted to say, except like you had a nice slide too. So I'm just like, all right. Well, in that case, I'm just gonna wrap it up with the one thing. I wanted to say two things, but I wanted you guys to take this opportunity to can reach out other people too. It's kind of like, it's hard to meet other people like this, especially face to face these days with the email. So don't feel shy about reaching out. Like if you felt like you have some kind of connection with what we said today, so what we shared, just to reach out and say like, hey, I'm doing this. I think that's the basic way of connecting from one to another. And is there anybody? I think someone was blinking. I wanted to say something, but okay, I guess not. So that is it for me. From me today. Yes.
Sorry, I just want to say really quickly, I would have loved to hear, and I'm sorry for talking so much, I would have loved to hear more from the South Asia folks, because I know Asia is a really big place, and maybe that's another thing to think about in terms of putting resources together, like more regional specific opportunities for people to connect. But there's so much that I'm sure I could have learned from you all, and I appreciate you being on here.
Awesome. I'm like actually actioning everything that you guys are posting. So that is it for me today. If you have any questions, please let me know. You have my email address. You have Joey's email address, and let us know if you have any other questions or you want to open up the workshop like this. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you to see you guys here.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye. And
Bye.
Bye-bye.
am I? Okay, I'll stop recording.